Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to take a look at the casting duos that we have for the 2021 Overwatch League season. I already talked a bit about the desk in a video a couple weeks ago because the desk reveal had happened earlier than any of the other caster reveals. So I just wanted to talk about the 5 casting groups that we have for the season, my thoughts on them, my thoughts on the casters that have departed for this season, and just general overall things talking about the Overwatch League and my reaction to the way that things have changed going into 2021. So the two most notable signing duos for the casters, I think, that are back is obviously Uber and Mr. X and Brendan Sideshow. They're the only two duos that have completely returned as the exact same duo that they were. Every other duo had at least one member depart, so those are the only ones that are unchanged. And what's interesting is those are the only ones that I believe are full-time casters. We know that Mr. X is, a full-time employee of Blizzard. He's no longer a freelancer who's kind of contractually obligated season to season for casting, and so we know that he's a full-time employee, so he's only going to be on the Overwatch League and also the Call of Duty League as well, but he's only going to be in Activision Blizzard properties. And then we also, on the other side, have Mr. X, who has mentioned that he is, he did a video where he talked about him and the job that he was going to have, and he basically said that he is tied specifically to the Overwatch League. He made it sound like he is not necessarily a freelancer, though he did kind of make it seem like it was a little bit more so freeing than it was in the past. In terms of Brendan Sideshow, we've only ever seen them cast Overwatch League at a high level. They don't have that kind of they casted like Team Fortress 2 in the past, but since they joined the Overwatch League, they have never really cast anything else. They've done a lot of stuff with Valorant, of course, but they've never really casted it, so I would imagine they are probably also fully contractually obligated to the Overwatch League and exclusive to the Overwatch League. But where it gets very interesting for the rest of the casting groups is that there is not a single casting duo in the rest of the league that is entirely 100% contractually obligated to the Overwatch League. And I think that's really, really interesting. To start, I think with the big one, we have Achilleos and Avril. Obviously, Wolf, big part of the cast for the past 2 seasons, did not get an offer to cast for the 2021 season of the Overwatch League. I think there were a lot of questions from people thinking that it was because of his ties to LCK this year, which is of course, for those of you who don't know, the Korean League of Legends scene. He's been casting LCK for a year, or not a year, for some time now, and I think that a lot of the questions that people have is, oh, well, he was doing this, so they probably were like, you're not going to be able to have an exclusive deal, and therefore we won't sign you to be a caster for the Overwatch League. But more and more other casters started talking about their contracts, and we learned that that is actually not really a thing, because every other caster that I know of, or at least most of the other casters, have mentioned that they are freelancers. Some haven't, and I'll get to the one that I can think off the top of my head that hasn't, at least to my knowledge. I could be wrong, he may have said it and I just missed it, but I don't remember this person saying it. But we have Achilleos returning, who has mentioned that he will be completely free to do other games. Specifically, I believe he's mentioned doing Valorant. That's the one he's going to do other than Overwatch. So he'll be doing Overwatch and Korean Valorant. And he is, of course, with Avril, who has talked that he is going to still be able to do Contenders as well. I don't know if Avril said he would still be able to cast Valorant. I don't remember, but he is still casting Contenders alongside Pixie, who is, of course, that was the duo that has been together for a while in the Korean side of things. That is going to be a duo that is entirely doing APAC matches. They're not going to cast North American matches. Makes sense. Achilleos is based in Korea. Avril is based in Australia or New Zealand. I'm not quite sure which one actually. But so the time zone wise, it makes sense they would be the duo that's primarily responsible for that part of the world. I love Avril. I love the Avril Pixie casts that we got last season during the May Melee. If you don't remember, they did a cast then. They did 2 casts during the May Melee, specifically the May Melee. And I think they did a really good job. So I love having Avril join. I think that there's going to be a big change and an adjustment for a lot of people in the move from Wolf to Avril. They're different casters. They have very different styles, but I think Avril brings a lot to the table, and I think Avril's a fantastic caster, so I love seeing him get his full chance at the Overwatch League doing his thing. The other duo that I believe is doing APAC matches based on what we have kind of been told is we're going to be seeing ZP once again returning. But of course, Jake back in the Overwatch League can't be a caster anymore because he is back in the Overwatch League as a player and coach. So ZP will be partnered with somebody that people may be familiar with, a certain former play-by-play commentator for the first 2 seasons of the Overwatch League. Doa is back, of course, no longer with Monte Cristo. Monty is off, of course, doing his own thing, but Doa now coming back to cast the Overwatch League as, I assume, the play-by-play commentator makes more sense, and I think that that'll be interesting. I really like Doa. Doa was really good. He was one of the best parts, I think, of the first 2 seasons. I loved his casting. I like to see where he plays off in the color role. Like I said, I assume he's going to be the color commentator. In their tweets about it, they talked about that they will, potentially be doing North American casts, but more often they'll be doing late night in APAC. Doa has already confirmed for himself that he will still be able to cast Teamfight Tactics, which is something he's been casting recently. I don't know how recently he's been casting it. I mean, obviously he was out of the Overwatch League for a year, so he did a lot of other stuff. He did some hosting, I know, for Valorant, so it's really good to see that they are allowing some kind of freelance work for some of these casters, which I really like to see. It gives them more freedom to actually do more casting gigs and have, kind of spread out what they're doing, because a lot of these casters don't want to just be stuck to one game, because in a lot of ways that can kind of hurt you. You want to keep your options open so that you have other potential paths in the event that the Overwatch League doesn't work out forever, or just in the fact that, when the Overwatch League season ends, you want to be able to have that option to then go and cast another game and not have to feel like an outsider coming into it. You want to feel like you can just kind of dip your toes in the games that you want to dip your toes into. And I think the Overwatch League opening up and allowing more casting duos to have some of that freedom is really, really nice. I alluded earlier to the fact that there was a caster that I wasn't sure what their status is, and that's ZP. I don't know if ZP is stuck in a certain role. I don't know. I don't know if he is the I don't know if he is a fully Overwatch League only caster, or if he's also still a freelancer with opportunities to go elsewhere. I don't know. He hasn't confirmed it to my knowledge. Maybe he did and I missed it, but he is the one that I don't know. But I think that'll be a really interesting duo, and I think they'll be really great for both sides of it. One of the things I really like about these two as casters is they kind of bring what you had in a lot of ways with Wolf and Achilleos, but they get the kind of double-edged sword of it, where Wolf and Achilleos were all Korea, right? They had the history of esports in Korea. They knew the rich history of Korean esports and the players in Korea. And so when they were casting players that came from Korea, a lot of the time it made sense, right? Like you got that rich history. With this duo, you actually get both sides of both the Korean side and the North American side. Monty and Doa were casters who spent a long time casting Korean matches in League of Legends and in Overwatch. So they have some history in Korea. Maybe not the same level of history that you have with Wolf, but still certainly some of that there. ZP casted North America forever, so you'll get some nice kind of mixes of that side of things when they cast North America games. You'll be able to kind of have ZP more in his element. When they're in Korea, you'll have more of Doa in his element. I think that'll be a really cool dynamic that I think will be really, really good. But I'm really glad to have Doa back. I think this will be a fun group. I really like that we have a number of different casters kind of changing their positions this season, and I'll get to the last group here in a second just to kind of talk about it. But seeing Doa go from being play-by-play to color, like I said, I'm assuming he's the color commentator. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's the play-by-play and ZP is the color commentator. I don't really know, but I would think that Doa is going to be the color commentator just because that, to me, makes more sense. So it's interesting. But the other duo, where we have another play-by-play commentator moving to color, is, of course, the Jaws duo. Hex moving from a casting role to a producer role, which I think is a really fantastic move for Hex. Gives him more of a stable career path where he can have the ability to work on the Overwatch League and have impact on the Overwatch League, but still keep that kind of year-round work schedule, which I think is something that you really, really like if you're Hex. And also it still gives him the opportunity to, show up on Watchpoint or potentially show up in different like skits or something like that. He mentioned that he at one point in time did a lot of treatments for scripts for things that they did for different like whenever time they'd had like a sketch or something, he would kind of look at the scripts and say these aren't that good, and he would be the treat guy for those. He would treat them. So I think that's a really good spot for Hex. I think Hex will do a great job in the producer side of things, but now that leaves Jaws. Jaws has no casting partner, so the move that they make for this one, which I think is a fantastic move, is we see Vicky Kitty, who, if you don't know who Vicky is, she has been casting in a bunch of different scenes throughout her time, but her kind of ties to Overwatch are, of course, in the contender scene for North America and Europe. She also has history in a ton of different Nintendo games. She cast for Super Smash Brothers, ARMS, Pokken Tournament. I believe she also did just like normal Pokemon competition as well. So very, very, very big name caster in a bunch of other scenes. Now making a move and a jump into one of the biggest esports in the world in the Overwatch League. So huge jump for Vicky. And of course, she's the first female caster, which you cannot understate. And I really like Vicky as a caster. I think she's great. What I'm not in the market for right now and in the field for right now is to talk about, well, is Vicky, Vicky's a great caster. She deserves to have her spot. I know there's a lot of people that have criticized her for different reasons, which I think are just ridiculous and stupid. I think she's done a fantastic job in contenders. She'll do a fantastic job in the Overwatch League. She's also done a great job in Smash and in other scenes as well. So all of my love and respect to Vicky for getting all the way up here. It's great, and I think she did a great job in contenders. I watched the most recent North American contenders tournament, the one that was for March, and I thought it was really, really great. I thought Vicky did a great job, so love seeing her in the Overwatch League. But as I said before, once again, we have freelance schedules here for these casters and freelance gigs. Vicky has mentioned she will still be casting contenders. She has been casting contenders alongside Hurix most recently, so I would expect that duo to remain, of course, in contenders. Jaws still has the ability to cast in other things. I don't believe he specifically stated which games he would be casting in. He just said, I have the opportunity to cast in other things, which is something that you kind of see somewhat frequently now, which is nice. We're seeing that a lot with all these casting groups, so it is really nice to see the way that it's gone. So yeah, I'm really excited for this casting group. I think this is a really good group of casters. You have some of those staple names and those staple duos in Uber and Mr. X, who were definitely like the premier casting duo. They've been the casting duo that everyone has kind of seen as the top duo in the Overwatch League. Since 2018, they really have been the best one. In a lot of people's minds, I think they're the best casting duo that the league has. And I think Brendan and Sideshow are very good as well. They are probably my favorite. I think Uber and Mr. X are probably the best casting duo. Brendan and Sideshow are my favorite. I just like their energy and the way that they cast. So they are great to have back as well. So it's a huge, huge, huge benefit, I think, to see the Overwatch League holding on to a lot of their talent, promoting some talent from contenders with Avril and Vicky, and then also we're seeing a lot of continuation of the same talent from years previous. Even with changes, we're seeing them move into different positions within the league, right? Jaws transitioning over to being a color commentator, with Vicky being a play-by-play commentator. We're seeing Doa come back into the league, potentially, or possibly in a new role. Hex no longer casting, moving into a production role. These are the types of things that you like to see in the league. You like to see them add career growth and give these casters and analysts opportunities to find new positions, right? Brennan Sideshow were analysts for 2018 and 2019 and became casters for 2020, which is huge, right? That's a huge jump for them, right? They go from being on the show every single day, right? Basically on the desk. Now they get to be casting and they get to give their energy into games. This is now 2 seasons for it. I think their casting this season will be better than it was last season. I thought they were really good last season, so I'm really happy with the way that this casting group breaks down. Obviously, can't wait to see what happens when the season kicks off on Friday. Hopefully we get an announcement some point early this week about who's going to cast this opening weekend. That was one of the things I loved about last season. I don't think they did it early in the season. Oh, maybe they did because of the way the homestands were working. But I love that they would announce before the matches who would be casting what matches, because I think that's a huge benefit for those casters themselves, because you're giving attention to your talent and saying like, hey, these are the casters you're going to get. That way we as an audience know who we are going to be able to watch and who we get to listen to. There's a lot of people who look at it and go like, oh, now I know if Doa and ZP are casting, I don't need to watch the matches, which if that's your reaction, I'm just going to say, why? Just don't be that way, please. But I do think it's a really good thing to have the opportunity now for different casters to rise up, and also we get to see a lot of the same kind of returning casters moving into different areas. I'm repeating myself at this point, so that's probably a good place to start ending this video. Let me know your thoughts on these casting announcements in the comments down below. Let me know if you are excited for these casters, if you think that they could have done better. What do you think they could have done better? I think there's definitely always room for more diversity in casting. I think that this is very, very telling. Obviously, this is the first female caster for the Overwatch League, and this is also with Avril, the first minority caster for the Overwatch League that I know of. I could be wrong. Obviously, I could be mistaken for some of them, but I don't believe any of the previous casters were minority casters. There's been, of course, minority people on the desk with Malik, and then, of course, we in terms of other areas where you had Danny and Emily and Mika in 2019 doing all like the interview and stuff. We had them there, but this is the first casting group that we have these full-time, or well, season-long first female caster, first minority caster. So a really, really good move in that direction, and I'm very, very excited to see the way that this 2021 season goes. But we don't have to wait very long, only a few days until the season starts, so I'm going to get out of here. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing for more content like this in the future. That's all for me. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. And until next time, bye-bye.